All right, Heather Ramsey here, founder and head trainer of ReWired Worldwide and faculty member of WeVo Global Academy. Thrilled that we're gathered here again today to take our game up a notch. And every time we're together, I hope, though a particular theme is named like mindfulness in this case, it can actually contribute to any of the themes that I'm supporting you and taking your game up a notch, whether it's business or sales or systems or sanity or satisfaction. So this is a foundational practice, a foundational skill set for any human being, regardless of your background, learning, knowledge, desires, dreams that you're wanting to achieve. And so hopefully you've watched the earlier and integrated in practice the earlier trainings in this entire mindfulness series. There was a set at the first level of Mindfulness 101, and then at the next level at mindfulness myths and myth busting, that I've hopefully busted a few myths for you about what it is and is not. And now coming to this third level, the set of training, getting more in depth and specific as to, okay, really, what are the how-tos of mindfulness? How the heck do I do this thing? We already covered and if you haven't, again, please watch the why meditate. What is mindfulness? In brief, at the simplest level, it's some amount of stillness and silence in each of your days of your life. And why would you ever want to do that? Well, if you have any interest in decreasing any of your suffering, physically, mentally, or emotionally, increasing your satisfaction in any area of your life, knowing yourself more at a deep wisdom level, and or knowing the nature of humanity, and fourth, but not only, actually rewiring yourself on the inner game to the point where your outer game behavior has naturally changed for the better, for you and for all of the sanity of the folks around you. So just to name four of the whys, but again, watch and listen back on those earlier trainings. And if you're here for the first time and this is the first way you've found us and met us, it's all right. Let's jump into the how-tos of meditation and a mindfulness practice. And may I say, this image that's in front of you is simply a picture. I know you're normally used to seeing me on camera, and I wanted to create a few images for you that could support you really seeing and understanding this practice. And so this is just a picture. What I mean by that is, you may notice the Buddha in the center. This is not a Buddhism course. You don't have to be Buddhist. You don't have to be Hindu or Muslim or Jewish or Christian either. You could be any of those or none of those. As long as you're a human who has ears and eyes, you are in the right place, and you rate or rank or qualify is the word I'm looking for, to be here now. It's simply a picture. And likewise, on the left and right of that particular image on the floor is cushions on the floor. No, you don't have to sit on the floor to have a mindfulness practice. You can sit in a chair. There are many positions or postures that are completely valid and get you, quote unquote, meditation mileage or maximum meditation mileage, M cubed. And one of those, yes, is sitting cross-legged on a cushion or a bench on the floor. One of those could be sitting in a chair. And in fact, if you can remain conscious, which is a trick yet a beautiful muscle to build, you can actually practice laying down, especially if you have a lot of discomfort. And to be conscious and horizontal is a muscle building in and of itself that's very worthy. Because most of the time in life, we're bopping around between wired and awake and unconscious and asleep. And to be conscious and relaxed is actually our nature, and to rebuild that skill is a completely valid skill to rebuild. So a few notes about the picture. I could have put the picture of nature, of a particular other spiritual setting, of a busy street, in fact, and you'll find out why I would say that could be the image, because yes, we are practicing. There's two settings in which you practice. One is formal practice, which this is an example of, not the only way, and then practicing in life the other 99% of your time when you're bebopping around the world. So I literally could have put an image of a busy LA highway or something to that effect, and it still would have been valid for this conversation of building your mindfulness practice. So without further ado, the piece that I want to add to this executive summary that I've already given you of the mindfulness training so far is the two main pillars that we're building in our mindfulness or meditation practice, the two main human skills or skill base or muscles that are invaluable to build because they produce all the benefits that I mentioned earlier and before: the decreased suffering, the increased satisfaction, your deeper wisdom function, and your change for the better of your overt behavior. So without further ado, let me bring up, there are only two pillars. It's not that complicated. In fact, we've, as Ernest Hemingway would say, taken the time to write you a shorter letter. The simple and first one is mindfulness itself. And let me give you a few synonyms or definitions, or introduce you or expand your relationship with this concept called mindfulness, of which I'm inviting you to befriend. And so a great synonym for mindfulness in this case is awareness. So you're building, and if you want to flex your muscles, biceps, as I am doing right now, feel free to do that. You're building your awareness muscle, the awareness of life around you, so you don't get to the end and say, oh, I missed it. And in fact, you say every day, I was here, I showed up in a real way of consciousness. And it's simply a human skill that they should teach in kindergarten and grade 1 and all the way up to grade 100 years or otherwise. And so this pillar of mindfulness is one of the ones that's holding up the roof, so to speak, of a great life, as opposed to collapsing or feeling overwhelmed with your life. Imagine that ceiling collapsing to the ground, which is what most people experience. They're overwhelmed, they feel under pressure, and two of the main reasons is because they're not actually conscious of what's occurring to them, and they're resisting what's occurring to them. And so this first pillar builds consciousness or awareness, or two of the main components is you're building your concentration and your clarity, meaning not how long can I, for instance, pay attention, past the 5-second advertising, flip the picture level of consciousness or concentration in today's society. How long can I concentrate to, for instance, the sound of my voice, the image on the screen, the feeling of your butt in the chair if you're sitting at this point? So how long can I maintain concentration? And clarity is another facet of mindfulness. How clear is my consciousness of what I'm focusing in on? How clear is the sound? Are you aware of the inflections in my voice, the rising and falling, when there's sound and when there's not? Even though I exaggerated the pause, in fact, between every word, there is a pause. There is what we call a gone. There is an arising of the sound, its peak, and it's falling away, and a gone the moment that it ends. So just giving you moment by moment examples of what building your concentration, your focus, and your clarity of focus or concentration can look like and feel like and sound like. And of course, building this human skill will cascade into everything in your life. Oh, imagine if I could focus more on my prospects for a longer period of time. Imagine if I had more clarity as to what they were saying. Imagine if, and I could go on, in negotiating, in business, in creating deals, in focusing on creating your marketing, or in your personal life, in actually hearing what your partner said so they don't have to repeat themselves 1,000 times and you get annoyed hearing them. In fact, no, you deeply hear them once, that you deeply acknowledge them, and they're deeply thrilled as just a few examples of the immediate ROI, the immediate return on your investment. You expand your ability to concentrate or focus by a second each day, a moment each day, let alone your clarity of taking in the world. All of a sudden, you've gotten smarter, richer, happier, more successful in one muscle building. So we'll continue to expand and build your relationship and your rapport with this wonderful critter, this wonderful concept, this wonderful skill that you can build called mindfulness. And without further ado, I'll introduce its counterpart, the second and only key pillar and muscle that you're building in this mindfulness or meditative practice, and that is the pillar of equanimity. I know in the earlier trainings I mentioned this, but you've never seen it on the screen, and I actually walked you through spelling it, because a lot of people, this is new for them, this word, this concept, EQUANIMITY. There it is, equanimity, an exquisite word of which I expanded on in some of the Mindfulness 101 earlier training, and I want to expand your relationship with it right now. This concept of, do you remember any of the synonyms that I gave you? Even the feeling of what it started to give you as you started to build a rapport with this word? An allowingness. If mindfulness is to awareness, equanimity is to allowingness. A deep okayness is another way. A lack of push or pull, a lack of grasping or aversion. We're typically grasping and wanting more of something, and aversion or pushing away other things. So a lack of push or pull. I am by no means saying a lack of passion, purpose, or focus. Mark my words. Yet it's this resistance, this tug and pull, this fighting with life. That is what we're reducing, eliminating, in suggesting that you may not need, that it may actually be more of a burden than a blessing, that you actually don't need it to survive. And in fact, you could have an exquisitely extraordinary, more epic life, exquisite and extraordinary, and equanimity. How about that? All starting with E. An exquisite, more epic, extraordinary life with equanimity. This befriending of this quality that you can build, and as you build it, it becomes more a part of your moment-by-moment living, this deep okayness, this allowingness, and or ultimately a facet of it is unconditional love. Because as you accept what is, or as Byron Katie would say, loving what is, you are soaking your human experience with equanimity. And so the invitation as we move forward, and as you gain more wisdom and more of a deep knowing and friendship and intimacy with these two concepts of mindfulness and equanimity, you will build your concentration, your clarity, your focus, your deep awareness and allowingness or okayness of life. And all of the benefits and more will cascade into your life. The decrease of your suffering or your pain physically, mentally, and emotionally. The increase of your pleasure, your presence, your experiencing of life, regardless of what moment is your experience. It could be eating a strawberry. It could be gazing out the window. It could actually be incorporating this training as opposed to potentially an antsy looking at the cursor. How long is the training? Is it almost overness of life? Not that I'm offended. I'm just giving an example of how humans, how we can tend to behave unconsciously, run by our anxious, something's wrong, something's got to be fixed, I've got to move on, without, and therefore missing what's actually occurring now. So without further ado, I'll just recap and invite you to befriend these two possibilities for you. The moment you say yes is the first day of the rest of your life of freedom and joy and come full on living, completely living. So here's to you embracing mindfulness and equanimity. In fact, I'm reaching out right to the screen right now. You might want to join me with my left hand. I'm reaching around and grabbing that mindfulness pillar, and with my right hand, I'm reaching in and grabbing that equanimity pillar. And I'm actually doing that bicep tricep thing, that bend and flex, as if they're two weights in my hands. Mindfulness in my left hand, equanimity in my right. And I'm enjoying, now I'm lifting both of them simultaneously. And I'm enjoying building these muscles and feeling, mark my words, the vibration of these coming into your DNA as you begin to burn new neural pathways into your positive, healthy, healing, vibrant wiring. So on that note, I will allow you to, and maybe for a moment together as we wrap up here on this particular invitation and training, we'll take a moment just together in stillness, well, in silence and in almost stillness. You can either just hold these weights in your hands or these workout instruments, mindfulness and equanimity, in your left and your right hand, still, and or feel free to lightly, I'm just lightly raising them up and down just by a degree or two, because I'm feeling more of the vibration of them than anything else. And or you may want to just completely flex and flex your muscles and feel that strength building, whatever suits you, but in silence for a few moments and in stillness or in very focused movement. I'm inviting you to really feel mindfulness in your left hand and really cascading throughout your body and your consciousness, and equanimity in your right hand, or cascading throughout your body and your consciousness. And an invitation, if it feels good to you right now, of the possibility perhaps with a smile on your face, of being more aware and more allowing of your life, so that all the riches and the joys and the happiness and the satisfaction grow exponentially within you in this moment and every moment going forward. I've kicked you off right now. Feel free, if it calls to you, to sit in stillness and silence for any more length of time that calls to you. A moment, a minute, 5, 10, 30, 60, whatever calls to you. Any more amount of time on your own right now and each day until we meet again, building your mindfulness and equanimity, building your character, your consciousness, your soul as it travels here on planet Earth together. Blessings, clarity, peace, and enjoy the building of mindfulness and equanimity. Heather Ramsey, ReWired Worldwide, and WeVo Global, serving you.